There's some biscuits there.
Okay, assalamu alaikum everybody. Today's topic is going to be about Easter, because on Sunday coming up is Easter, and what we're going to talk about is that, first of all, what is Easter? What does Easter celebrate within England or within Christianity? You can tell me.
It celebrates the coming back to earth of Jesus.
Right.
Rebirth of Christ.
Yeah. What it really celebrates is that what the Christians believe is that Jesus died on the cross, and after 3 days he rose again. He came alive again. Okay? That is what Christians believe. We, as Muslims, we don't believe that. What do we believe? And how do we know that the story which Christians believe is not true? That's my first question. How do we know the story that Christians believe is not true? How do we know that?
It's in the Quran. God mentions it in the Quran.
That's the main
Jesus
thing.
is not, hasn't died.
Now, believe it or not, before the Quran came out, lots and lots of people, they did believe that Jesus died on the cross. It wasn't until the Quran came out that everybody was corrected. Okay? So what we're going to talk about today is the version of, our version of Isa alayhi salam's not death, but what we believe happened according to the Quran.
He was lifted up, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he's going to return.
We're going to go through the slides one by one, and we'll talk about it as we go along. Okay, so first of all, Isa alayhi salam, like other prophets, like Musa alayhi salam, or even Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they all came on earth for a reason. Allah sent them, and they had a mission to complete. Okay? Now, most other prophets were sent because there was a lot of idol worshipping going on at the time. But with Isa alayhi salam, there was no idol worshipping going on, but people were doing other wrong things. For example, the Torah was being changed, which was the book at the time. There were things were being taken out of it, and interest were being added. And there were things like people were taking advantage of the poor. So interest was being charged.
Taxes.
And there were taxes going on. Businesses were being made out of the synagogues. So there were people outside the synagogues, and they were doing businesses. They were lending people to the poor, lending money to the poor, and they were telling the poor, if we'll lend you this much money, then after a year you have to give us this much more money back. So they were doing interest. So Isa alayhi salam, when he came, he told everybody, stop all of this. He actually, there is narrations that he went to the synagogues and he toppled over all the tables of money, and he said, stop all of this business. This is Allah's house, and you're supposed to be worshipping, not doing businesses. How do you think the Jews, or the Yehudis, how do you think they felt?
Well, they didn't like it because you're taking away their business and their source of income.
Yes, good, well done. So that is, they were not going to like it. That was their money. That was the way they were making their living. And when Isa alayhi salam came to say, stop all of this, they didn't like him. So people started plotting against him. And it was actually the Jews originally who went to the Romans, who were the emperors at the time, the kings, and said, look, this man here, he's trying to be a king, he's trying to take your throne. He's actually trying to take over you, so you need to do something about it. So they backbited against him, and the Romans got ready then to kill him. Okay? So the next part of the story is actually in the Surah Al-Ma'idah, which means, does anybody know? Table
spread.
Spread of. Spread of food. That's what Al-Ma'idah means. So that is the surah in which this part is explained. So Isa alayhi salam, or Jesus, was eating with his followers here on this table, and he knew that he is going to die soon, okay, because he knew that the Jews were plotting against him. And he then said to everybody that I will no longer be with you, okay? And which one of you would like to take my place, be my companion in paradise? Who amongst you would like to take my resemblance and be my companion in paradise? Okay? And that is actually, that part of the story is in Al-Imran in the Quran. Okay? And that's number 55 in the Quran. And what happened then was, some narrations say it may have been Judas, because he is one of the people who betrayed him originally. The Christians believe that it was Judas who had betrayed him. But there's no strong hadith saying which person came forward. Some people say it was Judas because he was feeling guilty.
But there's someone to make
betrayed
him look like Jesus. Anyway, you replaced
Yes.
his face in it.
Yes, I'm going to do all of that as we go along. So then what happened was, one of his disciples accepted, and Allah made him look exactly like Jesus. This is one of Allah's miracles. Okay, Jesus was made. His face was put on top of this person. Some people say it was Judas. Other narrations, it doesn't say who in the Quran. It doesn't say. It was one of his disciples. And at that minute, there was an opening in the ceiling appeared, and Jesus fell asleep. Okay, and he was raised up to heaven in such a state. And all of that is written in the Quran, in Al-Imran. Okay? So that is what we believe. He was raised up to Jannah through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the other thing is, if you think about all the major prophets, they have all been saved. Allah always saves his prophets. He never lets them die. Can anybody think of any prophets where they have been saved? Yeah, can we have hands up, please? Yes.
Yunus alayhi salam.
Yunus alayhi salam, he
well.
was saved in the well. Okay. Hamza, have you got one? Hamza? What about Ibrahim alayhi salam? How was
From
he
the
saved?
fire.
Oh, he was saved from the fire. Yeah,
Good.
the fire.
Allah made the fire cool for him. That was a miracle, wasn't it? Okay. Anybody else? What about Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? You can remember a time when he was saved.
Yeah, in the cave.
In the cave, during the hijrah. The spider, Allah sent a spider and a dove to save him. Okay? So, and Musa alayhi salam,
Yeah, Allah
major
protected
prophet,
him.
Allah protected him in the, what about the sea? He,
Yeah,
with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the sea was parted.
Yeah.
So, very, very, those are signs that show us how could Allah have let Jesus die? Because he saved all the other major prophets. Okay? So, then after that, his disciples went out of the house. Okay, a bit too loud. Okay, so his disciples went out of the house in the still of the night, and the Romans came, and they spotted this man who looked like Jesus, but it wasn't him, was it? And they took him and they crucified him on the cross. Now that cross is something really interesting. That cross is in the shape of a T, okay? Now did you know that the Romans worshipped a god called Taurus?
Yeah.
And their way, what they used to do is they used to sacrifice people, and they used to sacrifice people and sacrifice them by putting them on that T. So it was like they're sacrificing that person to this god Taurus. So this symbol of the cross really is not Christian. It's pre-Christian days. It comes actually from paganism. So that's something really interesting. So all these crosses which Christians wear, it's not really a Christian symbol. It's actually a pagan symbol.
Yeah, I think they wear it to remember Jesus, don't they?
Yes, yes. Okay, so it was then him, this disciple who died on the cross, not Jesus. That's what we believe. Okay? Now, in Islam, we believe that everybody has to live a natural death. There is nobody who doesn't die. Not any living creature there is that is eternal. Only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Or maybe other things like angels and things. But all human beings have to die. So Jesus, he did not die, did he? He did not die. So he has to come back on earth again to live the rest of his life and die a natural death. Okay? And even Christians believe that he will come again. Okay? But we believe, yes, he will come again, but also he will die naturally this time. He didn't die the first time he was raised up. Okay? So very, very interesting is that we believe that towards the end of the world, near Qiyamah, but not so near to Qiyamah, not right at the end, it will be at the time of Fajr that Isa a.s. will descend from the heaven, and like he went up, he will come down. Okay?
That's in Syria, isn't it?
Yes, and he will descend. He will be on the shoulders of two angels, and a cloud will carry him down. He will descend to earth in Damascus, in Syria, at the eastern minaret. And what's really interesting is if you look at all that stuff that's happening in Syria at the moment, when you think about it, could be any day now, couldn't it, really? So, from the hadiths, which Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us these bits, we have been told that he will be of average height, he will be reddish white in colour, so he will have a nice glowing skin. His hair will be spread to his shoulders, straight, neat and shining, and will appear wet, like after he's just had a bath, though water would not have touched it. On bending his head, it will be like pearls will be falling out of his hair. It's just something unique that will help us recognize that's Jesus. Okay, something unique. He will be wearing two pieces of cloth. Some hadiths say it will be light yellow in colour.
Yeah, saffron.
And saffron, light saffron in colour. And some hadiths say it will be red. But what's really interesting is those are the two forbidden colours for Muslim men. If you look at the sunnah of dressing, which the Prophet has told us, he's forbidden men to wear yellow and to wear red. So, I mean, although some people say yellow is to do with pagans and red is to do with shaitan, some people say, well, it could be because it will help us recognize when Jesus comes. Because no Muslim men are allowed to wear that colour, but Jesus will help us to recognize when he comes that that's Jesus. But believers will know straight away that that's Jesus when he comes. Okay? So, when he comes down, it will be the time of Fajr Salah, and the Iqamah of the Salat will have already been recited by Imam Mehdi. Okay, now I'm going to tell you about him in a minute. So let's just... Okay, so the Iqamah has already been done, and Imam Mehdi will be a very big leader at the time who would have tried to bring Muslims together at the time when Isa a.s. comes down. And he would have already done the Iqamah in the mosque, and he would be about to lead the prayer, and it would be then that Isa a.s. will walk into the mosque. Okay? And everybody who looks at Isa a.s. will know that is Isa a.s. And everybody will say, oh, Isa a.s. there. And the first instinct will be, right, you lead the prayer now. Okay? Come forward and you lead the prayer. But he, mashallah, will be so humble, he will say, no, Imam Mehdi has already done the Iqamah, he will lead the prayer, I will pray behind you. Okay? So he actually prays behind the leader who will be Imam Mehdi. That just shows you what a lovely, humble character he will have. And then after that, after the completion of Fajr Salah, the door will open, and there will be the biggest shock. Dajjal will be standing there with 70,000 Jews. Dajjal is a person in a human form that will come towards the end of the world.
Antichrist, that's what they
Yes,
believe.
Antichrist. He will be somebody who will claim he is Allah. Okay? He will show miracles to the world, and he will tell the people, I am Allah. And he will show miracles like there will be a huge famine going on in the world, and he will bring the rain down, and people will think, oh, he's definitely Allah because he brought the rain down to us. Or he will do things like he will cut up a person,
Yeah, he can bring them back to life.
and then he will join them back together, and they will be still alive. So lots and lots of people, mainly the Jews, the Yehudis, will be following him, and they will be think that he is Allah. So he will come towards the masjid with a big army of Jews. He will have one eye, and they say Muslims will be able to read Ghafar, which will be written on his forehead. Ghafara are the three letters, the root letters of Ghafar that will be written on his forehead. Okay, so very, very interesting. So people who see him will know. They say in the hadith that at that time every kafir on whom the breath of Isa alayhi salam will reach will die. His breath will reach up to the distance of his eyesight. Okay? The Muslims will then come down from the mountains and break loose on the army of Dajjal, and there will be a war. Okay? Dajjal will retreat, and Hazrat Isa alayhi salam will pursue Dajjal. Isa alayhi salam will have two flexible swords and one shield with him. And with this, he will kill Dajjal at the gate of Hud near an Israeli airport in the valley of Ifik. Okay, that's what it says exactly in the hadith. I'm quoting the hadith here. He will show the Muslims the blood of Dajjal, which he will have on his shield, and eventually the Yehudis will be selected and killed. Okay? So, do you know what will happen then? The Christians will believe that yes, this is Jesus and the Muslims are right, and they will join with the Muslims, and eventually there will only be one religion, which is Islam. Hooray. Okay? And because all the Jews will die with Dajjal. Okay? Dajjal will only come for a very little short while on the earth. Let's say roughly 40 days he will be on the earth, and he will cause chaos at the time he will come.
But it will feel like a long time.
But it will feel like a long time. But Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, will come, and he will be the one who will kill him. Okay, so after that, the mission which Jesus alayhi salam came for, he needs to complete. He didn't complete his mission. So do you know what he will do? He will kill the swines, the pigs, because even Isa alayhi salam never ate pork. He was a Jew. Jews don't eat pork. Okay? All this business of pigs eating pork came much later on when people started to change the religion, and they thought it was okay. If pigs are brought up in clean environments, then they can eat them. So he will kill the pigs, he will break the cross and get rid of Christianity. He will tell everybody, get rid of this cross, I didn't die on it. Okay? And people will revert to Islam. All other religions besides Islam will disappear. There will be no Ghafirs in the world, and all wars will end. So it will be very, very peaceful time. After that, he's done his mission. He will get rid of all the interest, which was his mission he came to complete in the first place. And he couldn't do it, could he? Okay, so he will complete all of that, and he will end by doing Hajj. Okay, so he will... Yes. So Hazrat Isa alayhi salam will perform Hajj or Umrah or both. That's what it says in the Hadith. He will also go to the grave of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because while he's there, Medina's there, isn't it? He will visit the grave and he will present his greeting. That bit really makes me so emotional, that part does. And just as everything seems all lovely, another calamity will strike the world. Okay?
Is that Gog and Magog?
Gog and Magog. Okay, this is Gog and Magog. They're digging under the mountain. Okay? And Gog and Magog were two tribes. Yajuj and Majuj is the Arabic name. Two tribes.
Gog and Magog.
Gog and Magog in English and Yajuj and Majuj in Arabic. So two tribes, and they, in the days before Isa al-Islam came, they were causing chaos in the world. They were carnivores, they were eating other human beings, eating all the greenery in the land, drinking all the water in the land. And what they were doing is they were causing chaos, and there was a king. Some people say he was like a prophet. He was a very good king called Dhul Qarnayn. He built a massive wall made out of copper and lead stripes, and he enclosed them in the wall. And what they say is that every day Yajuj and Majuj are digging and digging and digging. They get to the daylight. When they get to the daylight, they say, oh, I'm really tired now, we will do the rest tomorrow. And the rest tomorrow, what happens is Allah makes them forget. And then they don't come out. But at this particular time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them the power to come out of the wall. They will dig, and all of a sudden they will come out. And there will be so many of them that they will be spreading throughout the earth. Okay? They will destroy everything in their path. Everything in the world they will conquer. They will pass the lake of Tiberias in northern Palestine, and they will drink all the water. Okay? This is the lake. Well, this is not the real lake, but this is just a picture that I got up there to show you. So they will drink all the water, and everything will be so dark. Everything. Okay, so everything will become dark. There will be no greenery left in the land. No greenery left in the land. All dark and awful. Okay? And when they reach the Mount of Khamr in Jerusalem, they will proclaim that we have conquered all the people on the earth, now we're going to conquer those in the sky. So they are evil, they're going to say, right, we're going to conquer the sky now. And what they do is, they will fire arrows towards the sky. Okay? And what will happen then is that blood will come down from the sky. Allah sends that blood. Okay? And what happens is that what they're trying to say is they get all happy. They think, oh, look, we're killing the angels now. We're going to take over the sky as well. But that blood is really Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sending it down as a warning to them, really. But they don't understand. They think we've conquered the sky as well. We've killed the angels. Okay? And then, in the meantime, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send a revelation upon Isa alayhi salam, saying, such a creation of mine is now going to emerge that no power will be able to stop them. Therefore take my servants, your followers, and ascend the Mount of Tur. Who can tell me the Mount of Tur? What the Mount of Tur? Who else went up the Mount of Tur?
Moses.
It was good, well done. Musa alayhi salam went up on Mount Tur, and that is where he
In Egypt.
yes, in Egypt. So that's where he really received the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
Okay. So same mountain, and Isa alayhi salam will descend up the Mount of Tur. There will not be a single space on the land where the dead, rotting bodies of these people is not littered. All the people will be, dying on the earth. And Isa alayhi salam, he will pray to Allah, oh Allah, please, help us. I don't know, what are we going to do? Okay? And what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does, because he always listens, he's going to listen to a prophet, isn't he? So what he does is he sends worms to bite Yajuj and Majuj's necks and causing sores. So they develop boil infections, the sores burst and they die instantly. So some kind of disease will come from these worms that will bite their necks. Okay? When Isa alayhi salam comes down the mountain, there will be so much Yajuj and Majuj all over that there will be hardly anywhere to step, and a horrible odor from the boil infections. So then, Isa alayhi salam will pray once more to Allah that please help us. What are we going to do with all this smell and all these bodies? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers his prayers again. And he sends birds, massive birds, whose necks will be as thick as necks of camels. And they will pick up Yajuj and Majuj's dead bodies and dump them in the ocean. Okay? So very, very interesting. And then, what do you think will happen after that? There's still so much good. There'll be a big rain, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends down a heavy rain for 40 days. This bit reminds me a bit of Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam's story, because that rained for 40 days and 40 nights to clean. So it will rain for 40 days, and after the rain, Muslims will burn the bows and arrows of Yajuj and Majuj. Do you know how long it will take to burn their bows and arrows? This will give you an idea how many Yajuj and Majuj there was. Any ideas? How many years? Hamza?
5.
Nearly. 7 years. Excellent. That's our lovely holy number again, isn't it? Our lovely holy number of 7 is a good number, isn't it? Okay. So 7 years it will take to burn their bows and arrows. Yeah. And then after that is a beautiful story. All that rain will make greenery come again. Lots and lots of greenery.
It's going to become really beautiful,
greenery that it will be like heaven has come on earth. Christians also believe
That's
this.
what the Jehovah's Witnesses believe, don't they?
Yes. True Christians believe that when Jesus comes back, it will be like he brings a piece of heaven with him. Okay? So, there will be so much blessing and prosperity. If you think of Jannah and you look at the fruit, how big the fruit is in Jannah, it's narrated in the Quran that the fruit is really large. Well, there will be huge pomegranates, which is one of the fruits of Jannah, which will be growing in prosperity, and one pomegranate will feed a whole tribe. Okay? And when it comes to milk, cows, remember it's goat's milk as well, isn't there? So all the cattle will produce so much milk that one camel will be sufficient for many groups to drink. A whole tribe can drink milk from one camel. Okay? And then other things will be that everybody so everybody will be reading the Quran, there will be so much Islam, because Jesus or Isa alayhi salam will be telling everybody, and everybody will be practicing Muslims. Okay? And then there will be so much wealth and property on the land that there will be no zakat. Okay, so there will be so much wealth and property in the land that people will live so much comfortable lives that there will be nobody to give zakat or sadaqah to, because everybody's rich. Okay, so very, very interesting. There will be nobody to give zakat to. there will be so much peace and harmony and tranquility, and that there will be no jealousy, no miserliness, no envy between the people. There will be so much love. Everybody will love one another. It just reminds you of Jannah, doesn't it? Yeah. That, you know, there'll be nothing. Nobody will fall ill or die for 40 years as well. That's what it says. Nobody will fall ill or die for 40 years. Okay? Something else, the animals, there'll be no venom in them. Okay? So snakes will have no poison in them, and they will freely play with children. And lions will graze. I've got the exact hadith here. Just need to read it out. So wild animals will not harm anyone. Camels will graze among lions, cheetahs with cattle, and the jackals with goats. So very, very interesting. Okay? And then after all of this, Isa alayhi salam will marry, he will have children, he will remain on the earth for 19 years after marriage, and then he will pass away. And Muslims, we believe that Muslims will perform his janazah, the janazah salah, and he will be buried next to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some people say there's already space there next to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Medina for his grave. Okay, so that is the story that Muslims believe. Some of it very similar. This end part of lots of traits of Jannah body, a lot of Christians believe as well. Okay, so that is what we believe.
Notice the word descend in the hadith. This means no rebirth through the womb of the mother, no childhood, and no adulthood. Jesus will descend from the heavens on earth. This is confirmed by a hadith, 2137, from Sahih Muslim. Allah would send Christ, son of Mary, and he will descend at the white minaret in the eastern side of Damascus. In another hadith, Jerusalem has been mentioned, wearing 2 garments lightly dyed with saffron, and placing his hands on the wings of 2 angels. Jesus will kill the Antichrist, Dajjal, at a gate of Jerusalem. The Antichrist has been very well described in the hadiths. The Antichrist's left eye will be blind, and his right eye will float like a grape. His complexion will be red. The word kafir will be inscribed on his forehead. He will not be able to enter Medina. Medina will rock thrice on his appearance. He would kill a pious man and then bring him back to life. He will spread the wrong religion. The prophet Jesus will destroy Gog and Magog. Then Jesus will establish the fact that he is a messenger of Allah and not his son. He will re-establish righteousness in the society. He will reaffirm Islam as the final religion of Allah, Muhammad being his last messenger. Then Jesus, peace be upon him, will go through natural death of a human being, thereby completing the life sequence design of a human being.
Now, what does all of that got to do with bunnies, Easter eggs? What's all of that got to do? Nothing, correct. 100% correct. It's got nothing to do with it, okay? Did you know that even before Isa alayhi salam came, his religion even came to Britain, all this was happening before. This is all a pagan custom. So the religion in this country, before Christianity came, remember Christianity didn't start in England. Christianity came from the Middle East, came here much later. The religion in this country was paganism. Paganism is the worship of lots and lots of gods. The god of the sun, the god of the moon, the god of the stars.
And the seasons.
And the seasons. And if you look at Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he came, even in these days, there were pagans. The people were worshipping the sun, the moon, the stars. And he said, worship Allah, who made all these things. Okay? Now, Islam came to eradicate paganism. Did you know in Arabia, the religion was also paganism. People were worshipping lots and lots of gods. So Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to make us different from the pagans. Why did he tell us not to pray at sunrise? Why did he tell us not to pray at the exact, middle of the day? We're not allowed to pray. Those are times, the zawal times, because pagans were praying at that time. Okay? So lots and lots of things he made different. Our calendar was changed to the moon calendar because the sun calendar, everybody was worshipping gods. Okay? So all of this, Islam came to get rid of paganism, and these were all pagan customs in Britain before Christianity came. So when Christianity came, everything got mixed up. A little bit like there are so many Hindu customs in Islam, in India or Pakistan or Bangladesh, in Asia, so many Hindu customs that Muslims are still following because the religions, the culture got mixed up. Okay? So, if we look at the pagan calendar, this is very, very interesting. This is the pagan calendar. Can you see how many events on there that you can see, which we are doing nowadays? Who can name me a couple?
What's the question?
Hands up if you can name me a couple of occasions on the pagan calendar that we recognize in Britain today.
Valentine.
Have a look at the calendar. What can you see on the calendar? Halloween is one of them. Yes? Did you say one?
Easter.
Easter, the biggest one which we're talking about
May
today.
Day.
Easter is over here. Okay,
The
May Day.
Yeah,
Amazing.
May Day the pole.
It's pagan. Okay.
Christmas.
Halloween, even, we're looking at the autumn equinox, but that
At Christmas time they do the log, don't they? The
Yes.
chocolate log.
is, yeah, Christmas is pagan. The autumn equinox is actually Harvest Festival.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
We've got Harvest Festival on there as well. That is all a pagan festival where you are presenting food to gods. Okay? So, now we're coming to the biggest shirk, really. We'll have questions at the end. Okay, so the biggest shirk is all of these customs, because if you look at this picture, this is the goddess, not even a god, goddess, which the pagans were worshipping. And her name, what does it say at the top?
Easter.
Easter. Okay, so Easter is the name of this goddess. And what pagans believed is she comes on the land when it's springtime, and she puts spring things onto the land.
Makes things grow.
So this one is flowers. Okay, so flowers come at springtime. I know it's snowing out there, and at the moment we can't see any spring.
She doesn't want to
but
go out.
normally at this time you would see flowers, wouldn't you? I'm afraid we haven't had any daffodils yet. What else comes out in the spring?
Oh, babies and everything, like the lambs and sheep or whatever.
Right, one at a time, please. Lambs and sheep. What is the first thing you see when Easter comes in shops?
Eggs.
Eggs. Eggs. Okay, so I've got a pet hen in my back garden.
Yeah.
She's still alive. She's about 8 years old now. She lays eggs. As soon as spring comes, she starts laying eggs. One a day I get. Okay, so the celebration of Easter, this goddess coming,
Right.
the goddess is coming on the land. The pagans would celebrate the fact that she's coming, and they would paint and decorate eggs. So this is where this concept has come from, of painting eggs. And people do all this kind of stuff. It's all complete paganism. Okay, you're celebrating the fact that this goddess is coming. This goddess is not Allah, and you're celebrating by painting eggs, or shirk. Okay, what else do people do with eggs? I want you to think about your children. Hamza,
Egg
I want
hunt.
you to put your hand up and answer, please.
Yeah,
what
Easter
you
hunt.
did in your school. I think your mum has got more knowledge than you, and you're supposed to be my student. Okay, You said it then.
Yeah, Easter hunt.
Easter egg hunts.
They
These
do
are
the bonnets
games.
as well.
When we have Eid, the children play games. When spring is coming, the pagans would play egg hunting games. Okay?
They also make Easter
Bonnets.
Yes, we're coming to that in a minute. So Easter egg hunts, okay, where they would go around hunting out in the, people would go out more because it's spring, and they would go out into the fields and they would play games. Okay? That's where the Easter egg hunt concept has come from. Now you said something else earlier. We get chicks, we get eggs. You've mentioned sheep, which we're coming to in a minute, but there's
bunnies.
something else which is out.
Bunnies.
Yes, bunnies, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, rabbits are also, they come out in the spring, don't they? Okay, and do you know this is where we get, and you've already mentioned bunny, Easter bunny, that's where this Easter bunny business comes from. Because the rabbits are out and then people have made Easter bunnies, will give presents to the children. Think of Eid, we give presents to the children, don't we? So pagans, oh, Easter, the goddess is coming now, let's celebrate. And people dress up as Easter bunnies and give eggs to the children. Okay? So it's all linked with the eggs. Miriam already mentioned sheep. That's where they all come from, is during Easter. Okay? Now, with the eggs business, chocolate eggs came much, much later. Okay? It was real eggs, real egg painting and that kind of stuff. But when after, this is all commercial, this is all to do with making money, people would then start making chocolate eggs, and it's all about making
Money
money.
making,
All
yeah.
money making. Whenever it's Easter, the shops are full of eggs. And each concept of Easter is then made into a chocolate. So we've got rabbits, we've got sheep, we've got birds' eggs, and then we've got big eggs. Okay? Now, when Easter comes, we should try and boycott things that lead to paganism. One of them is getting Easter eggs. Okay? If all the Muslims in the world stopped eating Easter eggs, the businesses would go down and eventually paganism would stop. But by us all going to the supermarket, stand the aisles getting eggs, we're promoting paganism, aren't we?
I'll get them when they go with you.
Now, if you are aching for chocolate, if you are aching for a chocolate,
Have a bar.
have a bar. Why do you need to get an egg? Cadbury's cream egg is one exception because that's available all year round, and that's, I think, is okay. But with the other eggs, they are available only at Easter. Or wait for the sale.
Yeah,
At
that's
the
what I
end,
do.
when they've lost all their business, then go and get your eggs if you want to, if you really have to. But chocolate's chocolate. Why do you need to
tell
look
the
at the
kids
shape?
that. They just like the wrapping and the colours.
Why do you have to look at the shape? The wrapping is there, is a shaitan trying to encourage you. Okay? Right. I think Dawn, or was it Dawn's sister, you mentioned Easter bonnets. Okay. This is still happening in the schools.
Yeah.
Definitely, this is still happening in the schools. Easter bonnets is still happening. Now, who can think of something else that comes out at Easter? Something that you see in the shops, and they're all out in supermarkets.
Plants and flowers.
Now, we've done flowers already, we've covered flowers. In the bakery section,
hot cross buns.
hot cross buns. Good. Right, this bun originally was made for the goddess Easter. People used to bake bread and they would offer it to the god. Okay? This is in pagan times. Later on, that same bun ended up with a cross on it when Christianity came. Okay? So when Christianity came to this country, the same bun which was offered to the goddess Easter, a cross was put on it. Okay? Now, if you're aching for a bun, why would you need to go out and get the one with the cross on it? You're promoting paganism. Get the bun, which is just a normal bun. Okay? You don't need to get hot cross buns. Okay, so that's all of the Easter, but after 2 weeks after Easter, what comes? And if you look at the May Day, okay, May Day, and if we look at this calendar, this is our pagan calendar, and May Day is a pagan festival. Now, May Day is the coming of summer now this time, okay? And it's the summer solstice, it's the coming of summer. And guess what? There's another goddess that the pagans were worshipping. Her name is Flora. What does the word flora mean? Does anyone know? Flowers. So this time it's flowers. The flora is coming and she's spreading flowers on the land, and summer is coming. Okay?
Great picture.
And people celebrate, the pagans celebrated her coming by doing maypole dancing. This is how it originally was around the trees. Okay? And then later on, people elaborated, started getting flowers, started getting ribbons, started twining them, and they go round the pole.
In schools
They are
still do
worshipping the goddess Flora, and they are going clockwise. Have you noticed?
Yeah.
If you look at Hindus, when they do Garba in the Hindu temples, they go around clockwise. Okay? In our religion,
We go
the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to get rid of paganism. Have you noticed we go around the Kaaba anti-clockwise?
There's another reason for that, isn't there?
They say the
Balance
shaitan. Also, the other thing is everything in the world is balanced anti-clockwise. Even a fly, when it's spinning around the light, watch it next time, anti-clockwise.
And the birds,
Look at the birds when they're migrating, anti-clockwise. If you look at the way atoms and neurons go around, anti-clockwise. So anti-clockwise is in harmony.
Yeah,
And people
harmony.
say you don't get dizzy when you go around anti-clockwise. Okay? Clockwise is a pagan thing. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to get rid of paganism. That is so important. He came to get rid of paganism. And then later on, people have made great big things out of it. Ribbons, people dress up, they're going around the maypole. They've forgotten what is it that they're actually
Probably all
doing.
the festivals they've forgotten why they do it.
Yeah. Okay, so that's what May Day is all about. Okay. Right, now we're going to have questions, and we've got 20 minutes of questions. Right, okay, so questions, please, and one at a time, please. I know you're all dying. Any question on anything we've done today?
I really enjoyed the talk.
Good.
Very interesting.
Thank you.
I've learned so much.
Yes. Okay, any questions? There was a lot uncovered there. There was 2 parts, wasn't there, to the presentation. The first part was all of Isa alayhi salam's story according to Muslims.
Oh, I've got a question.
And then we finished off with paganism. Yes.
Is it true when Jesus comes to he's going to be 33 years old?
Yes.
And
Yes.
what age is he going to
32
die? Do you know?
years old. Yes, I covered that while you had gone out. Yes. 32 years old, approximately, according to the hadiths, was when he was lifted up
Yeah.
to Jannah.
Yeah.
It's at that same age he will come down again.
Yeah, but-
Basically, he is carrying on his life from the time he went
Until
up.
what age is he
Okay?
going to?
And then after that, already
You said
19 years he will live after he gets
Oh,
married.
19 years.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but on the earth altogether, he will be,
51.
yes. But he will be on the earth for approximately 40 years altogether.
That's so nice. It's going to be so peaceful at that time.
Yes, yes. So we've already explained about all the signs that while he's here, will be like Jannah will come on earth. Okay, any more questions?
American has spoken about eggs during Easter.
Yes.
But we should not be using that shaved egg or what.
Yes, because they are all pagan culture, Nothing to do with Islam, and even Christians, they're not thinking why they're doing it. It's got nothing to do with Jesus, has it? Eggs.
What about you mean egg with, if you mean fresh egg with it?
That's fine. We can eat eggs because we do that all year round. We don't just do it at Easter. Do we? Okay? But what we're looking at is eggs that come out especially for Easter.
Don't
chocolate.
does spend your money and buy.
But eggs we eat all the time.
Okay.
If you do something all the time, you can do it on Easter as well. But I'm talking about chocolate eggs, which only come out at Easter time.
It's all right.
Okay, any more questions?
Think that
Okay, sorry ladies, if we could have a little bit quiet here. Naeem, please, we've got a question.
And you think that the hot cross bun represents the cross of sacrifice,
Yes.
and the round bit of the bun is supposed to represent the stone that was put into the tomb when he rose again.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But the main thing that we need to remember is the hot cross bun. The cross came later. The original bun was made to present to the god Easter as a offering of food. If you think of Hindus are pagans, very similar customs. They offer food to the god. And these pagans, they offered that bun to the god Easter to do whatever, for a blessing or for her to eat, but she can't eat because she doesn't exist. But it's ridiculous, really. Then later on, when Christianity came, the cross was put on it for a reason. And then people just made things up. On the round bit is the stone, and the cross is the cross. But even the cross I explained earlier is pagan. The cross is actually pre-Christianity days. It is a T symbol for the god Taurus, to which the Romans used to sacrifice people. Okay, so even that is pagan. It's not linked to Christianity.
I'll be back in a minute. I've got to take him to the appointment. Okay.
Yes.
And what we do is we give the gift as a sweet chocolate egg and sweet like sheep in Easter.
Yes, I think that's a difficult one because you didn't go out to buy it, so then it should be okay to eat it. You didn't buy it, did you? Somebody else gave it to you. So,
I'll be back in a minute.
Cannot say no.
no. Just take it as a gift, as a present, and just eat it, that's fine. But I think the sin is more when you yourself are going out to get it. Okay? Any more questions? No? Okay. I think we'll stop there.